This is a kid and bad for tit and plod. You're the Deejay Spade. You're the link darker than 3 shades.
Yeah. What do you think about the Black Panther? They're fine for their struggle. Huh? Well, Black Panthers started out good. I like them. And they took it from Malcolm X. Yeah, Malcolm X encouraged them. I feel the Black Panther is a bunch of crap. That's your views. And you ask me a question, I ain't finished. But you feel they're a bunch of crap. But let me tell you about Black Panther. Black Panther started with UP and BBC. I learned a lot of that. I heard about them, but on YouTube and website I learned more. So they started thinking, they did this thing that the government of America did not do when it comes to health care. They did a lot of things. Some of them went to Cuba because they were supporting communists. Communists like Russia and Cuba was giving them guns. So they had a movie named Black Panther by Mario Van Peebles. In the movie, they went to the Chinese. And the Chinese, because they were studying Mao Zedong Red Book, Communism Rules. So the Black Panther was based upon communism, socialism. And that's all they saw themselves, because that was the only way they saw themselves to get justice in America. Democracy would not give them justice. That's why they picked up the gun, and the Chinese gave them the gun. Before, the Chinese man didn't want to give them the gun. So he said, ain't you supporting Mao? Because if you support Mao, you got to give us the gun. We fight the revolution, we communists, we socialists. What Black Panther was fighting for? Justice and equality. So where Black Panther is now, today? They're still in America. All right, the white people... The new Black Panther. The old one, they disappeared, but so what caused the end of the old Panther? Well, FBI agent now, J. Edgar Hoover. You're talking about the movie when the FBI sell the guy... I'm not talking about the movie, I'm talking about documents. I didn't mention anything about the movie. Just say about the movie. I talk about the Black Panther movie that they made. I didn't say FBI I'm not saying no. You're going to talk about the movie, you know? No, I'm not talking about no CIA movie. I'm talking about real documentary. What happened? J. Edgar Hoover created a program named Count Intel Pro. It was designed to get rid of the Black Messiah. And who do it? The FBI agents, the white... Listen, let me finish. Let me explain everything. Don't ask me, let me explain. So J. Edgar Hoover, he was the FBI director. He was the one who arrested Marcus Garvey. That white boy? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So he became a top figure in the FBI movement. So he was so powerful, he even manipulated politicians because he used videotapes and all that, and camera. So he blackmailed them. But anyway, he started a program named Count Intel Pro that analyzed the black people movement and to get rid of the Black Messiah. What they call Intel program? It's named Count Intel Pro. What they call Intel Pro? Counter-intelligence program, that's what it means. All right, intelligence pro. What is the intelligence? The FBI used Intel to research and study and... Exactly. Let me finish. One of them will stop it, they want to explain it because I already said I already know. You know, ask me if I know, you can't tell me like you're telling me about the situation. I've asked you one situation, and you're going to explain everything. But I mentioned Count Intel Pro. You didn't mention it. Talking about. Well, you didn't mention it. I mentioned it. No, but pitch and patch. I'm asking you the question in between the lines. You ask a question. How did they destroy the Black Panther? Who's the intelligent that the white man used? Who was the intel? It was a group of... What they call intel? Your voice getting too loud, man. What they call intel? It don't make a difference what they call intel. Yeah, you have to fucking make a difference because you're coming online. You know what? It was an intel program. I'm calling you a lie. But what the intel is about? What is intel? But you're not letting me finish this thing. You keep asking questions. Intel is short of intelligent. But what is intelligent? There you go again. Will you let me finish, man? You just keep cutting. I don't want to hear a long story about Black Panther. So how you going to learn then? I already know what you're talking about. I'm asking you the question. You answer the question. I'm asking you a question. I don't want to hear no explain like I'm just learning about the Black Panther. I already studied about the Black Panther. You did not study about Black Panther because if you did, you wouldn't ask about Black Panther. I ain't going to ask about no question. The reason I'm asking that question, I want people out there to know the full story. Your job is to talk. The white boy that you're talking about. White boy. The white boy that works for the FBI. What he do now? What? He's a black man that works in the Black Panther as an intel. If you even know what he's talking about. But you know that was the program. That was the program. Oh, man, the black man sell out the Black Panther. That was the right hand man for the leader for Black Panther. He was a fucking, they call him the Black Judas. Listen, man, you're getting things wrong, man. That's all they make. Come on, man. They call him the Black Judas. Man. They call him the Black Judas. The Black Judas for Black Panther. I'm going to research it right now. You ain't got to research. I know that, man. You talk about no shit. You talk about I'm lying. You talk about Fred Hampton, man. You ain't got to tell me that. So you don't mention that. I didn't finish with you, man. I don't want to hear a full story. I just want you to tell me the fucking fact. Now, we ain't going to do this no more. But let me explain to people who listen to me. J.A. Governor created a poor intelligence system from the 60s to the...
You're going to make it look like a white man alone selling the black man. A black man selling black people.
I didn't finish.
Where is the Black Panther? Where is the Black Panther?
That's why people say you're a fool on Facebook.
I'm telling you
right and say you're a fool.
I'm telling you about the black people that fight against black people in America. That's what I'm talking about.
Let me finish.
You straight from the argument telling me about how Black Panther created. Never asked how Black Panther created.
I did not tell you how Black Panther created. I did not tell you.
I know Black Panther created.
I did not mention Bobby Seale. I talk about that, but you asked a question, how did they fall? It didn't just fall under one man, Fred Hampton. That's why I'm giving the whole program. You're not listening.
I already know that.
All right, then how did they fall then?
The fucking black man that the FBI is sending in to spy on his own people, go with all the information and give him...
That's just one man them killed.
Hold on. He's the one that is big, is the intel that they're talking about. He's the intel that they're talking about.
Yeah, you talking about one man.
Intel means a spy that working as a person that, as an intelligent, working as a spy in the group, then that what they call intel. Intelligent.
It didn't create for that one man purpose. It created for the whole system.
Just ask me about the intel of the white man program.
You see, when you hear the word intel, you just cut it short. You didn't let me finish.
Yeah, that what I want to reach.
Ask the question.
But you don't understand what is intel.
Who don't understand what intel?
What explain intel to me?
Come on, man.
Explain the powder for intel.
You want to be smart to a man who's smart.
All right. Explain to me what is intel.
You want to be smart to a man who's smart.
Explain to me what is intel.
I mentioned thing, and you're trying to
explain to me what is intel.
Like you're the smart one.
Explain to me what is intel.
I ain't gonna explain what the intel.
Yeah, the one you say no.
I would explain
what to hear.
I would explain that to you. I ain't gonna go back to that.
All right, explain the basic of intel.
You're using my intel to try to turn it back at me like you teach me something about Count Intel Pro. I'm going to brought up in this conversation.
I'm talking about intel. I'm not talking about intelligence.
They go there. There go again, man. That's the
what they call intel.
People write that do. People write about you on this, man. So you get too emotional and you go off course too much, man. Because it's bigger than that.
When they're talking, you know, no, about what they're talking.
You quit
the talking words that I'm tapping in the truck. I tap in the truck and I stop right there. You want to continue I don't want to hear no more.
People going to say you
I want to know what you talk about the white boy and the intel.
Wait, so you want to call him white boy? You just
the white FBI boy, they were sending the fucking Black Judas to the Black Panther. They destroy the Black Panther and bring it down to their face.
That one man didn't destroy the Black Panther. That's what I'm trying to do.
Who's the one to bring the information to the white boy?
That's that chapter in Chicago. Oh? That's that chapter in Chicago. Fred Hampton was in Chicago. That's not the one in California.
Who confessed and killed himself in the last? Who confessed in the last and killed him himself?
You're not the problem.
He don't kill his own self.
You're not the problem too. From here about Black Panther, you just looking at the
reason why I asked about Black Panther because I wanted to pick out that fucking Black Judas you're talking about.
I know you're talking about.
All of it, black people fight against each other.
Listen, man, let me
all of it, black people fight against each other, selling each other.
Since you talk about the Black Judas, he was an FBI agent.
So I don't want to talk about
I didn't finish talking.
You talk about the white boy. I don't want to talk about him.
You interrupted.
Huh?
You didn't give me no chance.
You know you're going over him. You're jumping over him.
There you go. Assumption.
I didn't know about the Black Panther. You're explaining to me.
You're assuming that.
You feel that I didn't know about the Black Panther. That's why I asked you.
People going to say you're a clown, man. You too emotional.
I am a clown.
Yeah, you are a clown.
I perform.
You did not give me a chance to finish. You asked a question. How did the FBI contribute this to the Black Panther?
A long story. I don't want to hear a long story.
You don't want to. I
want to know the FBI. I want to know that the black man that they're sending to the intel.
Alright, tell me about him. Since you know so much.
Alright.
Tell me about him.
The black man get caught.
How him get caught?
Stolen doing the crime. The white man bringing him and interrogate him and tell him that. Listen, black boy.
That's not true.
Listen, man. You asked me to explain.
That's not true. That's not right.
I'm explaining. You asked me to explain. I'm explaining. Give me a chance to explain.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact crime that the black guy do.
Yeah.
He do a crime and the white boy caught him in the crime, interrogate him, tell him that, listen man, you're going to bring in something for something. If you want to bail out of prison, you're going to sell out your own people. He didn't decide for it. He didn't want it. He go home and think about it and then he said, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to save my own butt. All right? And I'm going to take down the Black Panther because I don't want to end up in jail for the rest of my life. And the white guy, that's what he know. The white guy used him as a bitch to go into the own Black Panther group and so he tell the white boy every information about where they hide, where the country is going to keep, where the secret convention is going to keep. The white boy know everything because of that Black Judas they call Black Judas. Alright? That's all the Black Panther get to fall. I don't want to know where the Black Panther create and how they create and what and where they come from. I want to know how the fuck they get to the fall.
Okay.
The black guy is the one that fall the Black Panther. The black guy that gave information to the white fucking FBI guy is the one that made the Black Panther fall. And what he said about that? What he said about that? Is somebody pretty short and spicy?
That's a little difference. Let me explain my story about that man. He did something, the FBI wanted to use him. He was an informant. So the FBI asked him, all they want from you was to find a way.
Why they use him? Because they were steal.
See, I'm talking and you interrupting. That's
you want to be a thief or
you know, finish
do something wrong. I'm going to find out
what
what
on the
you
internet. That's why you see, master. You just quit the chat.
Go on, tell him.
The FBI gave him a deal. You work for us, we're going to drop certain whatever it was. All they asked for was Fred Hampton address the apartment. And he gave the FBI the apartment, and the FBI set up with police to go in there and kill Fred Hampton that night or in the same week. The black man said he didn't know that they were going to kill him, but the fact is, you work with them and you give him, and what's the big deal if you didn't know they were going to kill him? You shouldn't even tell him that. That was how they killed Fred Hampton in Chicago. The death of Fred Hampton didn't bring down the Black Panther Party. There's a lot of Black Panther got, because the county temple program was to set up phone tapping, listen to the Black Panthers conversation, and tell each other lies against each other. That Black Panther section over there, or branch, saying this about this Black Panther with tape recordings, and that helped bring down the Black Panther. Called Interpol, phone tapping and mails. They got their mails, read it, and they duplicate the mail, write it differently, saying out to this Black Panther chapter, and that will help the Black Panther to dissolve, deteriorate. It wasn't just the murder of Fred Hampton. Yeah, I never seen the movie, but I read enough fight on social media. Yeah, you need to calm yourself sometime, man. But I'm glad you're doing it. You're that brave. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was all the Black Panthers made the county from. And some white people broke into jail.
What is it?
Some white people broke into jail over Africa and stole some documents of the Count Intel Pro, and the federal government of the United States break down the Count Intel Pro, dissolve it. So in the same thing, there was no more Count Intel Pro program. Thanks to those two white people. Two couples. So there's a lot of people fighting against J. Edgar Hoover, but we don't learn about them in certain history. But a lot of white people against J. Edgar Hoover as well. So those two white couples, I forgot their name, broke into J. Edgar Hoover office and stole those confidential profiles. And that was when the federal government of America dismantled the county table program. Because it was just targeting black people. Yes, so that's my viewpoint, you know. These are comments about me and him.
O'Neal Williams, that's what they call him. O'Neal Williams. He's the one that brings all the information of the Black Panther. Secret, the Black Panther, information, the Black Panther. Where the Black Panther keep their conference, where the Black Panther hide their gun, where the Black Panther sleep at, what the Black Panther gonna do next. What the Black Panther do to the white people. O'Neal Williams is the one that brings all the intel and give that white man. That's how the Black Panther get the fall. When the white man receive the information, he uses against the Black Panther and kick out the door and kill how much money did he kill that night in the Black Panther group? I think about 40 to 20 to 40 man he killed. Woman and man in the bed sleeping.
That will never happen. I don't know about that one. 40 people died? I don't know. I'm
just doing an assumption.
Oh, assumption. All right.
Then, woman and man just shot. All right? After O'Neal, listen man, every time I get a fucking pint, you fucking pain away. You need to go around and research about the fucking talk about the Black Panther and about movie.
You assuming? Are you assuming? You ain't assuming.
Every time I come on this way, I teach you something.
You ain't teach me a damn thing. You trying to teach me something. You're trying to
talk about the Black Panther. You're talking about the Black Panther fucking trader.
You're trying to be on my level, man. You ain't my level. Don't go. You trying to teach me something. You're trying to teach me something. Don't talk that stuff. You're trying to teach me something. Don't talk that. You're embarrassing yourself on the Facebook. Don't you try and teach me something? You ain't teach me nothing, man. You ain't teach me that. You might make a point, but you're not teach me anything. Because if you were, you would still be talking. You ain't teach me nothing. I got not yourself. I'm very intellectual. You ain't me nothing about black.
Intellectual is not royalty in my world.
You ask questions.
Is nothing.
You ask questions.
Intellectual is nothing. Intellectual is the most dumbest people you can find on this earth. Intellect people is one of the most dumbest people you could find on this earth.
Peace, God. Yeah. We're doing with the guy named Spade, you know? He's not afraid to talk to me. That's why I give him so much respect. but sometimes he's emotional. He's loud.
You don't take it personally. You don't want to talk about.
You cannot finish.
You are hypocrite. And that is what I'm talking about. You're hypocrite. You're two-sided, confused.
You're confused.
Yeah. You're talking about something and then you go like, what? You're not talking about that thing.
Come on, man. You just
talking about it.
You make yourself look bad. I don't make myself look bad. I don't care. I don't want that. Me and you did. People say you crazy. You don't talk nothing.
You're not talking about the black Judas that overthrow the fucking black people. You're talking about the white guy only that taking the information from the fucking black guy. You don't want to talk. You don't want people to know the truth.
You are embarrassed to yourself, man.
The last time we talk about Peter Touch and Bob Marley, I said Peter Touch go through more revolution more than Bob Marley. That is a lie. That is a lie that Peter Touch don't go through nothing more than Bob Marley.
This man
Bob Marley's a fucking puppet back in those days. Bob Marley's a white superior to Jesus. That's for black people. And when white people see black Bob Marley, they're happy for him. Yeah? And you can't tell me nothing about that.
Yeah, that's your views. But
yeah, see Peter Touch and Peter Touch.
He can't even know one song about Peter Touch. Just the other curse bad word song. You don't know about Peter, you just talk. Yeah, he emotional, that's him. But you do what you do, you talk, express your views.
Don't be slick.
But don't make it look like
be slick.
me something.
Don't be slick. Because you said to earlier on, so you're not going to take up America responsibility. I
did not use that word.
America problem on your head.
Be my concern, right? Right.
Yeah?
Yeah. No.
I asked you, why you say that you don't want to explain to me?
I explained that to you. What are you talking about here?
I asked you that you must go do something in America, that's what you said.
No, it's not about me being something in America. I enjoy myself in America. I live my life in America. I want to you. So where you come from? Why America responsibility? You express your views.
African abroad.
Because you express your views different.
African abroad.
What they did to me. I mean, you make it look different, man.
Yeah, they do something to you.
Come on, that do nothing for me. That was Lindsay. I said Lindsay specifically. I didn't say about America. Lindsay, dear broker, you keep going to America. That's the point with you. You don't have a sharp man.
All right, let the people ask themselves. Why do America problem your problem? You said you don't want it. You don't think it should happen. All right? The black people in Jamaica wonder why you say that. And I wonder why you say that.
The black people know that in all this. You said it was my choice. You didn't want that to say you should. You said
yeah, I know it's your choice to say no.
That's the best decision.
But I want to know what you say.
Come in Jamaica, living my life. Why should I take American people on my damn head? I ain't taking African people on my head. But like I said, because I used to go in America, back to Jamaica, they make. I said about 4 times, you still ask the same question.
So what are you fighting for then? What are you fighting for then?
I'm not fighting for no. What do you mean fighting for what?
So what are the conversation about now? I'm fighting about black peace something.
I'm going to end this right now. That's the conversation.
I'll fight for black.
What?
I'll fight for black. Anywhere I go, I'll fight for black.
Yeah, I would do that too.
Are you saying I'm doing shit?
No, I did not say that. I did not say that.
What did I say this ago?
I said their problem should be of my concern to be concerned about it so much. And I told you I read topics that I find interesting.
But I said African yard, African abroad.
Well, that means it's going to be my business. My business, my career. Garvey movement was about his movement. Noble Jualu movement was about his movement. Nation Israel was about their movement. Everybody's movement is about them to better themselves. Taking up things that ain't better, that's a waste of damn time. Yeah, that is a waste of time. I did not say that, man. Don't. I did not say that. And first of all, you should know that I know a history, great deal of history. You should know that, and you're still saying things that you don't know that I'm aware of history. And I don't act like that towards you.
A lot of
and
people,
that's another. A person on Facebook do the same thing. I say, every time you cover me with history, I knew he's aware of history.
Talk about black and act like they fight for black. But when the time comes for fight, when the revolution starts, they pull back. Are you one of them?
Oh, you want? I'm not fighting no revolution, yeah?
You don't ready for fight for the war for revolution. When revolution starts.
You people play with the word revolution.
It is not joke.
Hey, you people only. Hey, you
got joke me now.
Revolution.
It is not joke me now.
You ain't stand for no. We stand for. You just a black.
All the black people are dead out.
You right? Come on, man.
Never all the black men are hypocrite. Are dead out.
Man, you're the biggest hypocrite. Yeah.
I'm not going to fight for the black power. I'm not for the black supremacy. I'm not fight for shit. We are fighting for yourself.
You couldn't be a speaker to black people.
You're black Judas.
You're emotional. A lot of black Judas using sex now. They ain't gonna sell it to white men. They just
you marry the black Judas in a Black Panther.
Yeah.
You marry the black Judas.
If you want to say that, you say, but you have no proof. You can use the intelligence to prove that, because that's just talking.
Because you don't talk
You're talking,
revolutionist. You don't talk revolutionist.
You talk, see?
You say you're a revolutionist.
You talk. I did not say that. What's on my shirt? You talking. You don't see that
knockoff, man. You're knockoff like a cloth, man.
He's trying to get
You
intel off me.
know
You know what I'm saying? He's like a duplicate a little bit. He think he's smart. Yeah,
I'm
he's
not
from,
smart,
but you know what I'm saying? He think, yeah, but I'm going to end this. Jihadist Di Militant, Ismail Shabazz. Spade, the bravest blogger in Linstead. And I'm not going to let no other blogger follow Spade.
No, I'm going to document you with people think it's a blog.
Well, it's blogging still. Everybody blog.
No, blog is, what is blog? Blog means news topic that don't reach the earth as yet, so they put in the air to make it know that it's going on new now. Yeah. I don't blog, I don't document. That will live on forever. That's what we're doing now.
And you do music upload. So you do
I do music. Yeah. But I respect you because you're a man, you know. You always show me things about black, you always talk about history, black and those things. But when you come to the test, you know where the feet.
There's no test. What's test? Where's the test? You think here you on Facebook is a test? That's not a test. I already have a social media page years, long time. So there's no test here. You probably don't know enough of me. You probably know enough because me a reason and you know my YouTube.
Yeah, but we're not talking
but I don't know. When you learn about me and those videos, you soak it in your head because
I believe in you.
Listen, because when you come around me, it's like you try to make it look like you don't know I'm about this already. And when I go around you, I don't act as if I'm trying to teach you them because I already know Jewish is a way of a lot of things. You put things like you making me aware of things. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you say.
So why not ask about the Black Panther? Why are you going to give it brief? Why are you going to go from the root to the end?
What I was going to break it down, it was not just the killing of Fred Hampton broke down the Black Panther. It was cell phone tapping. Mayors when the Black Panther and FBI operate really.
Who do it? Who do it?
The FBI agent counting their brother.
Who do that information then?
I got the counted, that's right.
The fucking Black Judas.
You still know it, they're working, you blame it, they're working.
O'Neal Williams, he's the one that fucking break the Black Panther down.
You see their face? That's so it's there.
O'Neal Williams, go check it up, people. O'Neal Williams, go check it up. O'Neal Williams is his name. Yeah? His name is O'Neal Williams. He's the one that made the Black Panther fall to their face.
Anyway,
and the white fucking guy.
He's trying to get in there. He's like a duplicate a little bit. He thinks he's smart. Yeah, he's from, but you know what I'm saying? He think, but I'm going to end this. Jihadist Di Militant, Ismail Shabazz. Spade, the bravest blogger in Linstead. And I'm not going to let no other blogger follow Spade.
No, I'm going to document you with people think it's a blog.
Well, it's blogging still, everybody blog.
No, blog is, what is blog? Blog means news topic that don't reach the earth as yet, so they put in the air to make it know that it's going on new now. I don't vlog, I don't document. That will live on forever. That's what we're doing now.
And you do music upload. So you
do music. Yeah. But I respect you because you're a man, you know. You always show me things about black. You always talk about history, black and those things. But when you come to the test, you know where the feet.
There's no test. What's test? There's the test. You think here you on Facebook is a test? That's not a test. I already have a social media page years, long time. So there's no test here. You probably don't know enough of me. You probably know enough because me a reason and you know my YouTube.
Yeah, but we're not talking
but I don't know when you learn about me and those videos, you soak it in your head because
I believe in you.
Listen, because when you come around me, it's like you try to make it look like you don't know I'm about this already. And when I go around you, I don't act as if I'm trying to teach you them because I already know Jewish is a way of a lot of things. You put things like you making me aware of things. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you say.
So why not ask about the Black Panther? Why are you going to give it brief? Why are you going to go from the root to the end?
What I was going to break it down, it was not just the killing of Fred Hampton broke down the Black Panther. It was cell phone tapping. Mayors when the Black Panther and FBI operate really.
Who do it? Who do it?
The FBI agent counting their brother.
Who do that information then?
I got the counting, that's right.
The fucking Black Judas.
You still know it, they're working, you blame it, they're
O'Neal Williams, he's the one that fucking break the Black Panther down.
You see their face? That's so it's there.
O'Neal Williams, go check it up, people. O'Neal Williams, go check it up. O'Neal Williams is his name. Yeah? His name is O'Neal Williams. He's the one that made the Black Panther fall to their face.
Anyway,
the white fucking guy.
As far as the Black Panther Party was concerned, William O'Neill was one of their most loyal brothers in arms, the head of security for the Black Panthers in Chicago. He was tasked with an enormously important job, guarding the group's leader Fred Hampton. But little did the Panthers know that O'Neill had infiltrated the organization on behalf of the FBI. A car thief by trade, O'Neill had been arrested in 1966 for driving a stolen vehicle across state lines. Authorities had offered him a deal: infiltrate the Black Panther Party, or rot in prison. Not only did O'Neill successfully join the Black Panthers, he also gained the trust of Hampton, the beloved chairman of the Illinois chapter. But behind the scenes, O'Neill was secretly providing the FBI with a floor plan of Hampton's apartment. This allowed the Chicago police to raid the building and murder Fred Hampton in his sleep on December 4, 1969. The brutal attack sent shockwaves across Black America. It had only been a year and a half since the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., and now, a beloved Black Panther was dead at the hands of the police. Tragically, police brutality had been one of the main issues that Hampton had been fighting against. While the story of Hampton's death is fairly well known, O'Neill's involvement in the matter often goes overlooked. As chronicled in the 2021 film Judas and the Black Messiah, O'Neill's role in Hampton's tragic end was only revealed in 1973. Subsequently placed in witness protection under an assumed name, O'Neill would later say that he felt no remorse for being an informant. However, he also admitted that he was not a happy man. And in 1990, O'Neill took his own life at age 40, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. This is the little-known story of William O'Neill, the Black Panther who betrayed Fred Hampton. How William O'Neill became an FBI informant. William O'Neill was born on April 9, 1949. From a young age, the native Chicagoan lived a life of crime as a car thief on the city's west side. In 1966, when he was about 17 years old, he was caught stealing a car and driving it across state lines. If he had been arrested by local police, he might have languished in prison for years, but instead, he was tracked down by FBI agent Roy Martin Mitchell, and this moment would change O'Neill's life forever. As O'Neill would later reveal to his uncle Ben Hurd, his criminal experience was far more extensive than simply stealing cars. By 1966, he'd already been in trouble for everything from home invasion to kidnapping. A stolen car charge was just the cherry on top, but William O'Neill soon learned from Mitchell that all would be forgiven if he was willing to work for the FBI. Around this time, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover had made it his mission to prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the militant Black nationalist movement. This fear largely stemmed from the fact that the Black Panthers were becoming more and more popular, but Hampton in particular stood out among the pack. Born just outside Chicago on August 30, 1948, Hampton got involved in civil rights activism early on. When he was just a young teenager, he pushed his school to allow Black girls to compete for homecoming queen, and rallied for an integrated pool and recreational center. Before long, he joined the NAACP and was marching alongside Martin Luther King Jr. But after experiencing violence from anti-civil rights protesters, Hampton became disillusioned with King's nonviolent approach and began to lean more toward Malcolm X's message of self-defense. From there, he entered the Black Panther Party in 1968, quickly assuming a leadership position. The FBI feared that Hampton could become the next Malcolm X or Martin Luther King Jr. and unite America's impoverished citizenry against the status quo, and so Mitchell made William O'Neill a deal. If he joined the Black Panthers as an FBI informant and provided the Bureau with information on Hampton's activities, he wouldn't get into any trouble for his crimes. O'Neill agreed. The betrayal of Fred Hampton. Since the FBI had struggled to stop the Black Panthers from organizing, infiltration seemed more imperative to them than ever, and since Hampton appeared to be quickly rising in the ranks of the organization, they paid especially close attention to him. But Hampton was just one of many Black leaders victimized by COINTELPRO, the FBI's secret and illegal program that disrupted anti-establishment movements like the Black Panther Party. The fact that Hampton was campaigning so hard against police brutality and corruption made his treatment at the hands of those very police all the more tragic. While Hampton was establishing free breakfast programs for children and negotiating a truce between Chicago's street gangs, William O'Neill was tracking his every move and reporting everything back to the FBI. Although the FBI was initially interested in disrupting the breakfast program, as they claimed it was indoctrinating children, their attention quickly turned to the group's supply of weapons and whether or not Hampton was on any drugs. All the while, Hampton didn't know that his head of security was spying on him and undermining his work. He also had no idea that O'Neill was providing the FBI with a floor plan of his apartment. so that authorities could break in on that fateful night in 1969. Perhaps most shocking of all is that William O'Neill reportedly drugged Hampton with a barbiturate on the night of December 3, 1969, so that he wouldn't wake up during the raid. Meanwhile, the floor plan that O'Neill had given to the FBI had already been handed off to Chicago police, who were instructed to raid Hampton's home and seize the illegal weapons inside. That night, Hampton was in a deep sleep beside his pregnant fiancée, Deborah Johnson, who now goes by Akua and Jerry. At about 4:45 a.m. on December 4, 1969, 14 plainclothes officers stormed the apartment, armed with pistols, shotguns, machine guns, and the floor plan. They barged into the home and quickly headed toward Hampton's bedroom. Around this time, and Jerry remembers someone shaking Hampton, saying, Chairman, wake up, pigs are vamping." And Jerry said, "They just stormed the entranceway to the rear bedroom and they were shooting. It seemed like forever. I understand it only lasted 10 minutes. They were shooting into the mattress. The plaster was flying off and the mattress was vibrating. And then the person that had come in to wake Fred up kept saying, 'Stop shooting. Stop shooting. We got a pregnant sister here.' Eventually, they did stop and Jerry left the room. Despite her visible pregnancy, an officer reportedly dragged her over to the kitchen area, and then the officers started shooting again." And Jerry continued, "I remember someone saying that Fred was barely alive or he might not make it, and then they started shooting again and then it stopped. Someone said, 'He's good and dead now.' I knew they had killed Fred at this point." Hampton was just 21 years old when he died. Soon afterward, 7 Panthers in the building were arrested and indicted by a grand jury on charges of attempted murder, armed violence, and weapons charges. But these charges were eventually dropped during a later investigation, when it was revealed that the police had fired nearly 100 shots in total, and the Panthers had only shot once. Mark Clark was the only Panther to fire a single bullet, and the 22-year-old was fatally shot in the heart as a result. O'Neill's disappearance in the aftermath of Hampton's death. William O'Neill and his uncle visited Hampton's apartment that same morning after he had been shot. "There was paper strewn all over the floor, blood all over," said Ben Hurd. "There was a trail of blood from where they had dragged Fred's body." Bill just stood there in shock. He never thought it would come to all this. Unfortunately, it had. Clark and Hampton were dead, while several other Panthers had been wounded and charged with serious crimes. Meanwhile, the Chicago police shared news of their success and praised their officers for their bravery and professional discipline in not killing all the Panthers present. They claimed that the Panthers opened the battle by firing a shotgun blast through the apartment door, and even filmed a reenactment of the supposed incident to appear on television. But the story from the police quickly began to fall apart. A report by the Sun-Times revealed that the so-called bullet holes that police showed to back up their claims were actually nail heads. And sure enough, a 1970 grand jury investigation found that nearly all of the empty shells and bullets at the scene had been fired by police weapons, not Panther weapons. Nonetheless, a coroner's jury ruled that the deaths of Hampton and Clark were both justifiable homicides, and O'Neill's involvement in the attack came to light in 1973, much to the fury of the black community. Quickly whisked into witness protection, William O'Neill lived as William Hart in California for several years after being outed as an informant, but he secretly returned to Chicago in 1984 and worked for an attorney. Just 2 years prior, the Justice Department, the City of Chicago, and Cook County had settled a $47 million civil suit filed by the families of Clark and Hampton for $1.82 million. Even then, a Justice Department attorney insisted that this settlement did not mean an admission of any wrongdoing. As for O'Neill, he had divorced his wife, remarried, and had no real friends at that point. In 1984, he spoke of his past for the first time with the Chicago Tribune, and admitted that he had been just a pawn in a very big game. He would later appear in a public television series called Eyes on the Prize, in which he'd talk a little more about his role. While he didn't express remorse for his role as an informant, he did express sadness and anger over Hampton's death. "I knew it would be a raid, but I didn't feel like anyone would get killed, especially not Fred," he said. "It was blood everywhere, and it was holes in the wall, and I just began to realize that the information that I had supplied leading up to that moment had facilitated that raid." He once reflected, "I think if I look back at myself, I say if I had never met Mitchell, I would probably be in jail or dead." But he also said, "If you ask me if I'm a happy man, I'm not happy, no, I'm not even content." The death of William O'Neill. In 1990, William O'Neill killed himself on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. He spent his final hours at his uncle's home, where he acted out of sorts. "We were just sitting around drinking beer, talking to some friends of mine," said Ben Hurd. "We had company. The company left and that's when he started acting kind of strange and repeatedly going to the bathroom. He'd stay in there 10 or 15 minutes, he said. The last time he stayed 20 minutes, he came out in a rage and he tried to jump out my living room window on the second floor. I stopped him. I grabbed him by the ankles. I wrestled with him but he broke free and he ran out the door. I just had my house shoes and pants on," said Hurd. "I couldn't run after him like that. I couldn't have caught him anyway. There was a woman standing in front of the house and she said, 'Lord, it sounds like somebody got hit on the expressway.'" Indeed, around 2:30 a.m., O'Neill had run across the Eisenhower Expressway, and he was hit by a car in the process. By the time Hurd caught up to O'Neill, his nephew's eyes were wide open and his pulse was slowly fading away. He was 40 years old when he died. The traumatized driver who hit O'Neill swore he had tried to swerve and avoid him, but wasn't able to do so in time. Though O'Neill never explicitly expressed regret for his work as an informant, he did admit that he felt awful that Hampton died, so it was widely believed that O'Neill committed suicide due to the guilt he felt about playing a role in Hampton's death. Hampton's brother Bill agreed, and said it was something O'Neill tried to live with and couldn't. As explored in Judas and the Black Messiah, the story of William O'Neill betraying Hampton is a tragic and complicated one. After all, O'Neill was quite young when he was pushed into his controversial role as an FBI informant, but he never backed out of the job, even in the face of tragedy. And even though Hampton made a huge impact on people while he was alive, he missed out on the chance to live a long life, and perhaps make an even bigger impact. O'Neill was clearly aware of this, as he once mused that Hampton might have been a successful politician if he'd lived. "I think he was sorry he did what he did," said Hurd. "He thought the FBI was only going to raid the house, but they shot Fred Hampton and made sure he was dead."
I'm a wicked and bad for tit and plod. You're Deejay Activist. The link darker than 3 shades.